the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I know a lot of you are here for a couple different items, and I'll try to accommodate you and move those items up on the agenda. But before we do that, we have a couple other things we have to take care of. The first item on the agenda is approval of the regular agenda. I believe we're going to be adding item 9.6 under the Liquor Committee, item 10C under the Public Utilities Committee, and item 6BB under the Public Works Committee. Is there anything else you can think of that needs to be added? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda with those three additions.
I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the regular agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council. All items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. And I believe we're going to remove item 6U and item 11D. Are there additional items that need to be removed or added? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. The minutes of the regular city council meeting, which was held April 8th, 2025, are before the council. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes or additions to the minutes of the regular meeting? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting held April 8th, 2025.
So move to be accepted as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting held April 8th. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. At this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting, and I'll call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the proposed 3.2% on-sale wine and Sunday liquor licenses for Clarity Wine Bar LLC. Is there any staff report on that item? Kelsey?
Mayor and council, the application is in your packet. We're required, since it's a new license, to have a public hearing. Other than that, everything else is in line.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or wishes to make a comment regarding the proposed licenses for Clarity Wine Bar LLC? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion from the council.
Mr. Mayor, so the Liquor and Gambling Control Committee discussed this at this afternoon's meeting. So we have consideration to approving the issuance of a 3.2 on-sale wine and Sunday liquor licenses for Clarity Wine Bar LLC pursuant to their application and fees. As I mentioned, the committee reviewed, and we recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the issuance of a 3.2% on-sale wine and Sunday liquor license for Clarity Wine Bar LLC. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. So with that, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. Without objection of the council, I'd like to go to item 6L under the Public Works. Chairman Zeman.
Item 6L is the consideration of approving a memorial signage at Sucker Creek for Janet Bowe and for Donna Dustin. I'm going to ask on Kelsey Clem to give us a little update on this.
Mayor and council, there is a request in here, in your packet from Sally Hoskins about getting permission to put up some memorial signage in Sucker Creek. And I believe Sally is here to answer any questions, and Mark is here to answer any questions about it.
Okay. Do you want to make any kind of statement, either of you?
I'd like to make a statement if I.
If you could come up to the podium, Sally, and
I'm on a different parallel of universe with the computers.
Sally, if you could get a little closer to the microphone, please. Sally,
pardon me.
closer to the mic so we can hear you. We're old.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. We got a natural and scenic area grant, which was a very tight grant for Sucker Creek Preserve. Now, that's not for upstream. I'm talking Sucker Creek Preserve. And it was it said we needed to expand and protect natural and scenic areas. And once it was done, we were not to add anything. There were many committees. I think you can imagine, well, you've all been to Sucker Creek, I assume, and there are lots and lots and lots of signs there, and they are signs for education. We intended to teach while we were building that. The most important committee I felt was the sign committee. There were just 4 of us, Donna Dustin, Janet Bowe, Mark, and me. And Janet Bowe was a botanist. She was from central Minnesota someplace, near Brainerd. Donna Dustin was both DNR. She was DNR research biologist for fisheries, and Mark Olson was the artist, and I was chairing the committee. As the text was being edited, so we were getting down to the wire on these things, on the signs for the preserve now. Janet Bowe came down with breast cancer, and she died. So panic, I needed to do the editing, which I wasn't as knowledgeable, boy, as I was to. Then 2 to 3 years ago, Donna Dustin got breast cancer and died. Donna Dustin was my close friend, and I feel really bad about that. And in that time, Mark Olson was affiliated with a very bad cancer, and we almost lost him. And God help us, we would have lost the best artist in the community. So Mark and I are applying to the grant office in St. Paul to install a monument dedicated to each with dedication words on it. And the name of the grant officer in St. Paul now is Jennifer Bubke. She's a tough one. I don't know if we'll get this through or not, but we'll sure try. Because I feel these people were outstanding people in our community. I also wanted to say that before Joe Hiller, he was the grant officer that I was working with all the years. And Joe Hiller said, I have seen Greater Sucker Creek, and this is the finest use of grant funds I have seen in my 25 years. And I thought that was pretty darn nice, because Joe gave me a rough time lots of times. So anyhow, I can prepare the necessary letter if need be. I know there are questions, and I will defer to him. I do want to add that in accordance with climate change and stuff, I am presenting on native wildflowers at St. Luke's Episcopal Church next Monday evening under the auspices of the Isaac Walton League. So you're absolutely invited to come. Mark, thank you.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, so I was just gonna help you with any questions that you may had, concerns, so.
Are there any questions by the council or concerns that you want to bring up at this time?
I just want to say a few things, Sally and Mark, in regards to your request for a memorial signage. We understand that you want to have a sign to memorialize these 2 people, but the size of your sign being 8 feet tall is more than we ever thought it would be, and we're thinking more of a 8 by 10 plaque or so forth on it. So we think instead of making decisions tonight, and not saying we don't want to do it at all, but we like to sit down and talk to you to get a proper size to put in there, because we don't have this type of signage any place in our city that have parks, and they're a little larger than we expected to have on it. We were under the impression it was gonna be a lot smaller. So we'd like to sit down and, you know, sometime in the future here and talk to you about it and move this into our next month's meeting for the city council.
Yeah, we can certainly sit down and discuss it, and I've got drawings for you we can go over.
And we
give you
saw some
understanding.
drawings that you have here and so forth on it, but we just think we want to sit down and talk about that.
Absolutely, we can certainly do that, I guess.
Okay, well, and you can work with Kelsey, Clem, and we'll get a date set up and we'll sit and talk to you about this.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you very
Well,
much for
Yeah,
coming.
thank you for your time.
Okay, so we're not gonna take any action tonight. Kelsey, will you put it back on the Public Works for next month, please? Thank you. Without objection, I'd like to move to, well, just out of curiosity, how many people are here regarding the Minnesota state flag? If you raise your hand. Okay. I think what I'm gonna do is if you intend to ask to make a comment, I would restrict each of your comments to 1 minute. We've got a pretty full agenda tonight, and nobody up here packed a lunch. And so if you could hold your comments to 1 minute, that would be great. But with that, I would turn it over to Chairwoman Spry. Or no, that's under Public Works. Chairman Zeman,
Under 6A.
6A.
We had, our committee, Public Works, had quite a bit of discussion on this, and when we're all said and done, we decided to make a recommendation that we keep the flag as is right now.
Okay. Is there anyone on the council that wishes to take any other type of action at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
I would like to make a motion to not hang the old flag or the new flag.
okay, is there a second to the motion?
Mayor, I think from a Robert's Rules of Order standpoint, there would need to be a motion to rescind the prior decision first, because 2 months ago, there was a decision by the council. And so the appropriate motion would be a motion to rescind. That can be made by any member of the council, and it requires a 2/3 majority. So,
Okay, I was using Matt's rules of order, but that's not gonna work, right?
I think Bob has more precedence.
Okay, all right. So with that, Aaron, I guess you have to change your motion to a different motion.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second. I have a point of order question maybe for that.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I was informed recently that if you voted against something, you don't have standing to bring it back.
In a motion to reconsider, that would be true, but the motion to reconsider would have to have been made at the meeting where the action was taken.
Okay.
And then only one who was on the prevailing side could bring that motion. But a motion to rescind, remember, a motion to rescind says, the prior action is no if it passes by a 2/3 majority. That can be brought up anytime as long as the action is not changeable. I mean, we haven't entered into a contract or that type of thing. So this would be a changeable action. It can be brought up. And the only thing is it requires not just a simple majority, but a 2/3 majority.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so why don't I open it up to the public if you want to make a comment before we proceed with any further motions? If anybody wants to make any comments, you're welcome to do so. If it's only going to be one or two, I'll even give you 2 minutes. Hey, Todd. For you, that's pretty good, isn't it?
That is. All right, my name is Todd Simonson from 1774 East Shore Drive. And I'm obviously here to talk about the flag. It seems to be quite a controversial subject, no matter what side of the fence you're on. A lot of people think that the new flag stands for the Democratic Party. I don't necessarily believe in that. I just don't believe that the flag stands for anything that we stand for in the state of Minnesota. So on the way here tonight, I thought, what am I gonna talk about? Kind of busy at work, didn't have a chance to really write anything to talk about. So I just got into my phone and I started digging around. Our old flag, it says, under Google, it says, for those of you that believe Google anyway, it says the depiction of the picture on the flag is the depiction of pioneer plowing a field while a Native American on a horseback rode by. Next, it says, representing the state's agricultural heritage and indigenous history, obviously Native Americans. The seal also included elements like a setting sun, a tree stump, and a state flower, the beautiful pink and white lady slipper. The flag's blue background was a representation of the state's many lakes and rivers. Then as I was sitting in here tonight, I just Googled the new flag. It says, the dark background is in the shape of the outline of the state of Minnesota representing the land of Minnesota. The remainder of the flag is a solid bright blue representing water. Okay. So I think in the state of Minnesota, especially Detroit Lakes, where we're from, we're all about agriculture, we're all about tourism. Those are two of our very biggest incomes around here. So if we can't agree that we're gonna fly the new flag or the old flag, let's just agree to fly no flag. I mean, if you look at our county, that's what our county has decided to do. They've decided to fly no flag at all. And if you look all throughout the state of Minnesota, I haven't written down what communities have decided not to fly the new flag. Well, you can bet there's a bunch of them. Because when you go online, there's a lot of controversy online about the new flag. I just don't think with all the tourism we have in this city, that that's what we want to represent. And if you disagree with it, let's just agree that we don't have fly a flag at all. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd. Anyone else wish to speak before we take our vote? Good evening, Jim.
Evening, Jim Sinclair, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. I wasn't planning to get up here, but I can't understand what we're doing here. It's the state flag, isn't it? Do we belong to the state of Minnesota? Why would the city council be wasting their time talking about the state flag and changing it? If you want a change, go to the legislature. They represent the state of Minnesota, and they've made a decision. And if you want to change it, have them change it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else? Otherwise, I'm going to call the vote.
Mayor? I was asked to repeat what I said at the committee meeting last night, and so, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you come up, I apologize.
I'll
My name
call
is
on the
Michael
council. and just-
Lighthizer from County Highway 6, Detroit Lakes. I'll try and keep it quick. I have a lot to say. I could go for 3 hours about Minnesota history.
No, let's go 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, I'll do my best. I don't think it's in the best interest of our town to fly the flag of the Twin Cities. A large amount of Minnesotans do not want the redesigned flag. And I understand this is not about redesigning the flag. This is about talking about not flying a flag in our community. Historical, geez. Let's see, the flag has been called dated. I think that's an insult to the 25,000 soldiers who fought under it in the Civil War. The 1st Minnesota alone lost 82% of their men in 10 minutes holding the line for the Union. To call their sacrifice dated is despicable and morally wrong. It's been called offensive, racially offensive toward indigenous people. And while that is considered, it is an opinion. The 9th Minnesota Infantry Company G was made up primarily of Ojibwe men which is proof that not every indigenous person shared the same opinion about colonization in North America then, nor do they today. The 1862 Dakota Wars left scars on both sides that should never be forgotten. The symbol should serve as a reminder to our history, and I hope the city council council members would consider that we don't need any more division and some healing could be done. And if that's the step, is not flying one until we figure out what to do with that thing, then I think that's the best course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So just a point of order, Charlie, before I open it up to the council. You said it requires a 2/3 majority. We have a council person absent this evening. How many votes are required?
6. It's not.
It's above my pay grade on the math
It is of the council, so.
of the entire council, even if there's one. So it's 6 votes. Okay.
And remember that, you know, the motion to rescind just rescinds what we did before.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily coincide with Mr. Dahlman's first motion. That would require then, if the prior motion is rescinded, it would require another motion.
Yes. And that would be a simple majority at that point. Wendy, I know you have something you'd like to say.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I wasn't, so when I saw this on the agenda for our committee meeting, I wanted to put my words down on paper so that I could communicate myself well. So I'm going to read it. I'll try to read it really fast like I did last night. Regarding the state flag. As a city, we've been flying the state flag at a couple of city properties for as long as I can remember. I've lived here since 1992. The current conversation, I think, began when a constituent asked why we continued to fly the old one when we had a new official one. To me, that seemed like a reasonable and logical question, and I forwarded it to staff, and it's been brought to committee meetings, and now we're having this discussion. As our committee considers this is last night, as our council considers this, I have some questions that I think bear consideration. What is the objection to the current flag? Aside from design, I don't know what the exact objection is. If a constituent had voiced opposition to the previous flag, found it problematic in some way, would we as a council have considered removing that flag from the pole where we've flown them for as long as I could remember? I can't imagine that we would have done that. If a year ago I had walked in, or a staff person or a person off the street said, that flag is really offensive to me, I don't like the design, I think it's out, whatever it might have been, would we have taken the time to consider and possibly quit flying the flag at that time? Ask ourselves that. I can't imagine that we would have done that. As a department head or council member, if I preferred, this is just an exaggeration, I recognize, the former American flag. I liked that design before Alaska and Hawaii were added. So now can we come before the council and ask the council to fly the old American flag? Because I'm not really thrilled with the current American flag. Is that reasonable? Would that be considered? I have a hard time believing it would, but it's just, it's a question I think that bears thinking about. Should we quit flying that flag entirely because some of us don't like that American flag? I don't think so. We've flown these flags forever, and I can't imagine why we would want to stop. What would be the rationale to consider not flying the flag at all? Again, we have been flying these flags at these places for as long as I can remember. I know there's only really a couple spots, and so that it's become this huge conversation is complexing to me. It's just, so I received emails from citizens expressing their concerns. I haven't heard really an explanation for the objection to the new flag, except it's not liked. Some of the emails have been, kind of personal and sounded kind of critical, and I don't mind being called on the carpet for a decision I make, but I didn't appreciate necessarily the tones of them. It made me really concerned that this city that I've lived in for 33 years and that I love, and that I love the community, and I recognize what great people we have here, that this issue is being brought to this level, and it's really, it saddens me. It was insinuated that to fly the flag would create an economic issue, and that I would be responsible for that. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, these are the kinds of things that are coming to me in emails. But again, I never got in any of those emails, and a really explanation of why this flag, we should take it down. I've gotten, I'm not even gonna mention the other one. My opinion for the council is that not liking the design itself is highly subjective, that we all have our personal preferences on any number of things. We like different colors, we like different shapes, we have different views on the world. And so to subjectively decide after flying it for many years that now we should not, or that we should have flown the old one longer, does not seem reasonable in my opinion. And I think those questions I raised earlier bear consideration as we consider this question. Lastly, this council is a nonpartisan entity. We don't run for this council as a Democrat or an independent or a Republican Party. Our goal here and our responsibility is to provide for the infrastructure and the public safety of our community. And I think we need to get our concentration and our attention back to doing so. I think to make the decision not to fly the flag makes a statement in and of itself, and I don't know that this council should be in the business of making those kinds of statements. We've flown the state flag as long as I can remember. I can't imagine a situation where if somebody had said they didn't like it anymore, that we would be here, and it is my position that we maintain the status quo of the decision we made previously. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is
That was
there,
long for 2 minutes, I apologize.
no, it's okay. Is there further comments from the council?
I just got one quick comment. I think this is a fair compromise. We don't hang either one. I think it's fair amongst everybody in the city. That's what I think we should vote on. But first, we gotta rescind this other one, right?
Right. Further comments from the council?
I think an objection I have to the flag is not the content of either flag, but I think the objection I have, which is similar to my objection to the marijuana issue, here we go on the marijuana issue, but it's the process by which this state enacted a new flag. It enacted it based on a political division, and it enacted it legislatively without any input from the public. This wasn't the public coming forth and voting on it. This was the legislature enacting it. But on the others, also on that same point, they enacted it, but this legislature also, from what I understand, has given municipalities an out. They're not required by state statute to fly this flag. So if they felt that this was an absolute to fly this flag, then why are they giving cities and counties the option? It's the same with the marijuana issue. They didn't ask the voters, they didn't ask the residents, they did it on a legislative basis. And there's a lot of people in outstate Minnesota who don't agree with it, but they also allowed us to make ordinances with certain restrictions, which is what we utilized to control the marijuana issue. And so we have the same opportunity to make a decision locally in regards to this flag. So once again, I think the process by which it came about was not appropriate, and I think the voters should have had some input, and therefore I'm not in agreement to running the new flag, and I'm not saying, I'm making my statement not based on the content of either flag.
Okay, let me allow one more comment, and then that'll be it from the audience, and I'll restrict it then just to the council. So go ahead, sir.
Danny Steinmetz, 1233 Minnesota Avenue. Ma'am, you brought up that you didn't like the prior American flag.
That's not what I said. I was using
But
an
you said,
exaggeration.
should we hang the other one? We're all Americans here. We all agree on the American flag.
You know, we're not here to argue with the council
understand
members, so
that,
why
but-
don't you make your statement?
Not what I said.
But we
and I'm
do
not gonna
agree
stand
that
there and say
there's
that's what I said.
discrepancy between the new and old flag. So flying either one of them would probably solve a lot of the problems.
Okay, well, thank you. Further comments from the council? We need to wrap this up. We got a full agenda.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I do have one comment there was a lot of opportunity for public input as far as the design of the flag. You have to understand that. And as I understand, the design that was sent off to the final flag committee was from an individual in Laverne. So outside of the metropolitan area. So there was a lot of input, but people didn't seem to care at the time. And now there's a stronger opinion on it. So I think,
Can I make a rebuttal on that? There was input as to the content of the new flag, but the desire to change the flag and vote on a new flag, that was not brought to voters' discretion.
Your Honor.
Okay.
I
Sean.
think, we've spent a lot of time talking about this. Wendy really touched on, I think, we have a duty to remain somewhat objective. This is the challenges we have around legislative decisions. But if we're gonna fly a flag, my opinion is we should fly whatever the official flag is. And with that, I call the question.
Okay, so this is a roll call vote. Our city attorney tells us we need 6 affirmative votes to rescind the action taken previously by the council regarding the flag. So I'll start with Jay.
Aye.
Sean,
No.
Mike,
nay.
Matt,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Wendy,
Nay.
Aaron,
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Well, that's 5 yeses, so the motion fails. So, thank you folks that are here for the flag issue. We appreciate your politeness and your concern, and without objection, I would like to move to item 5E, and that is on the Community Development Committee agenda, and I would call on Chairwoman Spry.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 5E is consideration to the first reading of ordinance number 541, rezoning R2 1 and 2 family residence to LB Lakefront Business District at 1321 Summit Avenue. And I would hand it over to city staff to share with the rest of the council.
Did you have a motion?
Do
You didn't, not yet? Or you did have a motion?
you want me to do it now?
Right, let's have a motion on the table and try to get a second, then we can,
Thank you.
okay.
Our committee discussed this at our meeting yesterday, and we agreed to move this forward, and so I make a motion to approve that.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 541, rezoning 1321 Summit Avenue to a Lakefront Business District. Kelsey or Larry, do you want to chime in at this point?
This is a city-owned parking lot, excuse me, this is a city-owned lot that the city intends to use as a parking lot. And in order to do that, we would need to change the zoning from R2 to LB, where this would be a permitted use.
And just for clarity tonight, we aren't approving any parking lot with this motion. We're just giving first reading to the zoning change, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there any comments from the council? So this will also require
Was there?
2/3 vote, correct, Charlie?
Yes, because it's to commercial.
And again, that would be 6, right?
Was there a second?
Okay, I'll call the question. I'll start on the other side on this time. Craig?
Aye.
Aaron?
Is this the parking lot by,
Well, it's the rezoning of the area we're considering doing a parking lot in.
okay. I'm going nay.
Okay.
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
Ron? Matt?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.
So the motion carries. And also on the Community Development Committee agenda, Wendy, can we take item 5A, please?
Yes. Item 5A is consideration to beginning city council meetings with prayer. Our committee discussed this last night, and we did not come to any, conclusions at that point, and just had a matter of discussion.
Okay, so is there anyone on the council that wishes to take any action this evening regarding beginning our council meetings with prayer?
Your Honor, I make a motion to institute prayer at the beginning of regular city council meetings. Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to begin our city council meetings with prayer. Would there be any, should we give some consideration to any restrictions on that as far as time or anything like that, or we'll work that out later?
Sure.
I would say we'd
Minute,
do a 3-minute prayer,
Or less?
or less, up
Okay.
to 3 minutes.
I was married to a Catholic family and they pray fast.
Is there, the motion and seconder, would you be okay with keeping it to 3 minutes or less? Okay.
3 minutes or less.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
The motion carries. And with that, I know Barry, you're here this evening, and I know you're the one that made the initial request, so we would certainly want to get together and meet with you regarding the logistics of it. So if you would be in contact with Kelsey, go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Celeste. Can I also be a part of that meeting?
Sure,
Thank you so much.
I recognize you.
I recognize you too. Thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, without objection, can we go to item 6F, Ron? That's on the, has to do with the donations towards the Washington Ballpark project.
Okay, at this time, we'll look at item 6F, our baseball project. This is a consideration to a funding of $600,000 from the American Legion Campground Fund and for $400,000 from the Park Dedication Fund for the purpose of the Washington Ballpark project, and this amount of money specifically for the grandstand project. I'm going to call on Kelsey Clem and get more information from him because we have Mr. Ider here with us tonight, and I know he wants to say a few things too. So Kelsey.
Mayor and council, this project's been a long time coming. We've been working on it for a few years now. As they get prepared to kick off kind of a campaign to do some private fundraising, first step was to nail down what the city funding's going to be. So in your packet is a couple of spreadsheets that show the American Legion Campground Fund. That's basically revenue that we receive from the American Legion Campground Management Agreement. We've been putting it in a separate account with really the intention of this project from the beginning. So the recommendation is to dedicate $600,000 from that fund. The second part of that is the Park Dedication Fund. If you recall, last year we received an anonymous donation of about $570-some thousand to the park fund. This would dedicate $400,000 of that donation towards the Washington Park project. With the city committing the $1 million and then plus what we hope to secure also through from the DL schools through a use agreement. Based on current budget, we're hopeful that that would at least be able to fund the grandstand improvements that are being proposed. So nailing down the request would, again, basically provide us the opportunity to move ahead with design. It would also provide the opportunity for the volunteers to proceed with their fundraising. So with that, Mayor, if there's no objection, Terry Ider's here to say a few things.
Terry, I don't know if we ever gave you an official title for this project, but you've been awful helpful, so thank you.
Well, I've been called awful before. So I'm Terry Ider, and yeah, I don't have a title, I guess. I'm just a community volunteer that's kind of come along and trying to put this puzzle together. As Kelsey said, it's been a long time coming, and anytime you drive into that part of town, it's the biggest eyesore kind of still remaining down there, and it's high time we do something about it. And so I'm really just kind of tickled pink to be here because I envisioned this moment for a long time. And I'm thankful for you folks for allowing me to do this. And I'm a softie and I'm an emotional guy, and so forgive me, but I've been wanting to do something with Washington Park. I remember 20 years ago when I was a groundskeeper down there, and I asked a city staffer if I could get some paint from the hardware store and paint the bathroom floors, and they said, no, we're gonna be fixing this place up. Here we are, okay? So, like I say, that's why I'm so fired up about this. So thank you for allowing me to work on this. Washington Park, the obvious thing is the eyesore that you drive by each time you go down there, but there's so many more things that are public safety concerns, ADA concerns that we're gonna show a video that we put together, and a lot of those things will be addressed, so I'm not going to double up on them, but again, as Kelsey mentioned, we started with, actually several years ago, and kind of formulated a committee with some city council people, some school representation, and representation from the park board. We did some tours and kind of came up with a plan, not only for the stadium, but for the field and all the amenities down there. What you see tonight is a pretty good definition of what we want to do. And if we are able to raise the funds to do this, it's going to be the current gym. I remember speaking years ago about the crown jewel of Detroit Lakes back when I was working on the community center. I'm gonna like to think that this is gonna be the new crown jewel of Detroit Lakes. And it's gonna be a place that you can be proud of. You don't have to shy away from it when you drive down there, or you bring people to town. And it's gonna be a place that kids even more so are gonna wanna come to play. They wanna come there now. But if we get everything done that we wanna do, it's gonna be a huge draw. And you know, Todd Simpson talked about DL being a tourist town. This place will attract tourist dollars as well. So there's some economy behind this as well. So we're ready to go on our fundraising campaign. We wanted to get this done. We're waiting to get some final costs from, once this goes to bid, right, Kelsey? Mm-hmm. And before we actually say how much money we're gonna have to raise. And I'm very confident that we can raise what we need to. I hope it's okay for me to say, we're looking at about a $3 million, maybe a little bit more dollar project. So we've got a couple of million to raise, and like I say, I'm confident that we can do that. So before we do the video, any questions?
So just to be clear, Terry, the initial phase would just be the grandstand, and we're still kind of planning on trying to get that done this year, right?
Well, Kelsey, do you want to address that?
The plan is to bid, it's kind of two bid packages. It'll be kind of the architectural and the buildings. So the base bid would include the grandstand. We'd probably do some alternates for like the concessions and stuff, which would be more pending on the fundraising. And then the second bid package would be a civil package on the field improvements, probably come a little bit later in the year. Again, that's going to be reliant too on fundraising, so.
Okay, thank you.
That's the official stance from the city. My stance is, this is one project. We're gonna get it done.
Sounds good to me. So
Terry.
you're gonna run the video now, right? Okay.
Before we start the video, I want to mention they're talking fundraising, and you're talking to the two co-chairmen, Terry Eider and Natalie Bly. They're going to be the fundraisers, so if they come and talk to you, please consider what their request is. Thank you.
Okay. Nicely done, Terry and Natalie, thank you. So with that, Ron, we do need a motion to accept those funds from those
Okay,
two
so we need
sources.
a motion to go ahead, accept the funding of $600,000 from the American Legion Campground Fund and also $400,000 from the Park Dedication Fund for the Washington Ballpark, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept those funds. And I would call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Thank you again for coming tonight, and it's a nice video. Thank you. Especially the mayor. So is there anyone else in the audience that has an item you wish to bring up at this time? Otherwise, we'll go back.
You've got Amy Stern then, 6I and 6J.
Okay, 6I and 6J. Let's move to the Public Works, Chairman Zeman.
Okay, first item is I is consideration to approving a park use lease with the Fritz Family Foundation regarding the Orton Stone Garden lease. This lease is for $1 and we'll renew it for a 12-month lease at this time. A committee recommends and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a park use lease with the Fritz Family Foundation regarding Orton Stone Garden. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Next item is J, consideration of approving a special event application from Project 412 for the welcome of the Orton Stone Garden for the summer and fall of 2025. This will start now all the way through November 3rd, and this would allow them to have merchandise areas at their spot out there, and also food trucks when necessary. And this would be for this summer and fall season through November 3rd. Committee recommends and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a special event application from Project 412 for the welcoming Orton Stone Garden for the summer and fall of 2025. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Sorry, Amy, I could have moved you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that's got an item on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll go back. We've got a couple more public hearings to take care of. So at this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting again and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the Shorewood Drive utility improvements. And I would call on, there's actually two resolutions that the council will act on, but I'll call on our city engineer, John Pratt, first. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We have a supplemental public hearing this evening related to some improvements for Shorewood Drive. Little background to get everybody maybe up to speed is we prepared a preliminary engineering report and then subsequently held a public hearing for street improvements to Shorewood Drive back in March of this spring. Those street improvements were going to consist of full-depth reclamation of the roadway. Subsequent to that, we determined through a variety of different events that really there was an opportunity to extend some sewer and water to an area on Shorewood Drive that doesn't currently have any sewer and water, and it would be prudent to put that sewer and water in before we make a 20-year improvement on the roadway. So that leads us to where we are this evening. Those proposed improvements would involve some special assessments to some of the adjacent landowners. And of course, anytime we're doing special assessments, we're required to hold a public hearing related to those assessments. So I'll run through what we're planning to do, what the costs are, what the special assessments are, and we can have time for comments and questions afterwards. So again, the Shorewood Drive project as a whole includes the entirety of Shorewood Drive. This particular piece that we're talking about tonight is about a 600-foot-long area kind of extending from the intersection of White Clover Beach to the west, again, about 600 feet. So a relatively short area, but that area does not have any existing sewer and water. Those properties that are adjacent to this area are currently undeveloped, but could be developed. The nearest infrastructure is either up at the end of Bay Ridge Drive or down by White Clover Beach. So what we're proposing is fairly straightforward from a sanitary sewer standpoint. We'll extend 8-inch sewer from White Clover Beach intersection and then drop off 4-inch service laterals to those adjacent properties along the way that would benefit from the sewer and water. Same is basically true with the water main, an 8-inch water main, and some service laterals, and pop a hydrant in at the end for flushing and fire protection. So a little bit of an image that you can see there, what we're planning to do. As far as costs go, looking at about $170,000 improvement in total with the water and sewer improvements, including the service laterals. This particular project would be funded by the sewer and water utility funds and special assessments. We would do all this in accordance with the city's special assessment policy. To that point, generally speaking, the assessment policy for an improvement like this is 100% of the cost would be accessible to the benefit and adjacent properties. However, in this case, there's a little bit of running room or transmission that we need to do to sort of get there. And while we get there, we're going by properties that do not benefit. Either they're already served or they're undevelopable wetland areas. So in this case, the city would be assuming about the first 200 feet or so of sewer and water costs just due to a lack of benefit. Then that balance would then be allocated to special assessments to those adjacent properties. So this is sort of how that shakes, pardon me, how that shakes out. We've got the city picking up just under $60,000 of that cost, and the remaining $100,000 or so would be allocated as special assessments. The assessment policy allows some flexibility how we allocate those costs to those adjacent properties. We could do it by a front footage methodology. We looked at that, didn't feel that that was overly equitable in this particular case just because of the size and shape of the adjacent lots, which sort of led us to the recommendation to assess this on a per lot basis. And so there are 4 total lots that would benefit, at least in the future. There's 2 future lots on the larger undeveloped track on the north side of the road that we would drop service laterals off to, and then 2 on the south side of the road. So you take those assessable costs, divide them by 4, that's what lands us on the assessment rates that are shown on the screen there. So in total, each of these lots would be assessed just under $28,000 for the sewer and water improvements. As far as assessments go, we would hold an assessment hearing once we receive bids. Either we do that in June after we receive bids, or after the project's completed in the fall of 2025. And those assessments would be levied to those properties starting in 2026 over a 20-year term. Properties, of course, have the option to prepay any portion of those assessments to either eliminate or reduce interest charges. That's it, Mayor. Questions?
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or wishes to make any comments regarding the Shorewood Drive utility improvements? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain 2 motions. Chairman Zeman.
Okay, the first motion is to give consideration of the resolution accepting the addendum for the preliminary engineering report for Shorewood Drive utility improvements, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the addendum to the preliminary engineer's report for the Shorewood Drive utility improvements. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item is consideration of approving the resolution, ordering the improvements and approving the plans and specifications, and ordering and advertising for bids for the Sherwood utility project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution ordering the improvement and approving plans and specs and ordering advertisement for bids for the Shorewood Drive utility project. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the public nuisance at 1513 Carroll Avenue. And I would call on our city staff. Priscilla, okay. And John, I apologize, I wasn't linking why you were here, but. I'd just love to be here, man. All right, thank you.
Mayor, if I just tee this up real quick, so, there is a nuisance property at 1513 Carroll Avenue. Priscilla, who is our code compliance specialist, will show some pictures and explain kind of the extent of the nuisance violation, and then it does require a public hearing, and then there's a resolution in your packet that, if approved, gives the city the ability to abate the property and clean up the nuisance.
Okay, thank you. Priscilla?
Hello. So the photos from the first, I'll start. So during a routine inspection on March 17th, which was prompted by repeated violations of the city's nuisance ordinance, I observed multiple violations at 1513 Carroll Avenue. These included tires, overflowing garbage, and assorted debris scattered around the front yard, the driveway, and near the garage.
Priscilla, move that mic a little closer, will you? Thank you.
The homeowner was out of town at the time, but was notified of the violations upon her return during the inspection on March 24th. Ms. Maxfield and her partner were instructed to clean up the property. Shortly thereafter, another agency informed me that the homeowner would not be returning to the residence as they have moved out of the county. Due to the lack of compliance and no known alternate contact number or address, a notice of violation and public hearing notification was posted on the front door of the residence on April 15th. Attempts to reach the homeowner through the family and outside agencies have been unsuccessful. Since then, I have engaged with the mortgage company's representative, who is now responsible for securing the property and bringing the property into compliance. They intend to initiate cleanup efforts, but the process could take up to 25 additional days from today. I got an update today on their time frame, and they have a certain time frame that they have to follow with individuals' personal property. So it could be up to 25 days from today. So the staff recommendation is to allow 7 additional days for the mortgage company to initiate cleanup actions. If no substantial progress is made within that time frame, the city should proceed with enforcement measures to ensure compliance. So abate the nuisance. This is what it looked like on Friday. So the items have been neatly tidied up by thoughtful neighbors.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make any, or ask any questions or make any comments regarding the public nuisance at 1513 Carroll Avenue? John, if you could state your name and address for our minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is, excuse me, my name is John Thorpe. I live at 1511 Carroll Avenue, next door to this horror story of the past decade. Excuse me again. We've been residents of Detroit Lakes. Well, I grew up here. We've owned a home that I grew up in next door at 1511 Carroll Avenue since the year 2000, when my parents moved into senior living, and we bought the home from them. For at least the last 10 years, we have almost on an annual basis, and sometimes more often than that, reached out to the city, reached out to various appropriate personnel, expressing our concern about we've been living next to. Priscilla showed a couple of pictures. I have about a decade of pictures on my phone. The house in its current condition is falling apart. The soffits are rotting out. The windows are rotting out. It's in really bad condition. I have not entered the house myself, not for quite a number of years, but I know from various individuals I've spoken with that the condition of the house is in serious disrepair. I've thought about over the years, tried to make an effort to purchase this property. I figure if I were to do so, I would put it back together. But I'm not sure that it's in a condition where that's even possible anymore. I'd like to see a nice little park next door to our house. It would be really nice. I don't know what the process would be to moving forward with the current residents and whether they've just abandoned the property or whatever. But I would be interested in exploring personally an alternative to purchasing the property myself. And I don't know, I guess that's about it. There's so much I could say about things, but it's all past history. I'm so glad that we're moving forward now in a positive way. I've been glad to see that there's been efforts to clean up the front. The back is still in terrible condition. I had to put up a privacy fence about 5 years ago because I couldn't take it anymore. But anyway, enough said. I just appreciate the opportunity to comment on what we've been dealing with. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. Priscilla, do we know who owns the property? Is it the people that were living there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And you said they vanished now?
They have vacated the process or the property, so the mortgage company now owns it.
Oh.
It's going through the foreclosure, I believe it's going through the foreclosure process. So they have to post it for 14 days and then there's another time frame that they have to meet, so.
Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that has any questions or wishes to make any comments regarding abating the nuisance at 1513 Carroll Avenue? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to approve a resolution declaring nuisance, ordering abatement and assessing costs as a service fee at 1513 Carroll Avenue.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution declaring a nuisance and ordering abatement and assessing costs as a service fee at 1513 Carroll Avenue. Discussion on the motion?
Just say thank you to Mr. Thorpe. I know I've been on the end of a lot of emails, so happy to see this getting cleaned up for not only you, but for also the neighborhood. For city staff, it'd be great. I know there's other neighborhoods that are kind of going through this as well. I know that we're up against the time frame of what we can do legally in that, but I appreciate your due diligence to stay on top of these things.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. And that brings us to the Community Development Committee, Chairwoman Spry, and I believe we're on 5B, Wendy.
Yes, and I think we are going to plan on addressing B and then D. They're kind of tied together.
Okay.
So 5B is consideration to second reading and adoption of ordinance 536 for the annexation of property in Detroit Township of a 1/2 acre more or less and rezoning the tract R2, 1 and 2 family residential district at 26208 North Tower Road. Our committee discussed this yesterday and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance number 536. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second reading is given and ordinance 536 is adopted. Wendy?
Item 5D, consideration to the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 538, rezoning from RA Agriculture Residence District to R2, 1 and 2 family residence district for Broadlawn Estates, second edition at 26208 North Tower Road and 1774 North Tower Road. Our committee discussed this yesterday and we agreed to move this forward and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance number 538. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5C,
Yep.
consideration to second reading and adoption of ordinance number 537, amending section 20 of the zoning ordinance, rezoning property from I-1 light industrial district to I-2 heavy industrial district at 983 Richwood Road. Did you want to?
The purpose for this rezoning is so that the Development Authority can enter into a lease to have someone remove the gravel and the topsoil from this site. Once that's done, it's the intent to have this rezoned to I-1 again.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
Our committee considered this, and we are all in agreement, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to, which item were we on? D? C, we're on C, I'm sorry. To give second reading and adopt ordinance number 537. Discussion on the motion?
Well, I just want to mention that that property, we have a contractor that wants to take the gravel off of that property, and the Development Authority will receive an amount of over $1 million for that gravel, so this is a good project for the Development Authority.
That sounds good. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Second reading is given and ordinance 537 is adopted.
Item 5F, consideration to first reading of ordinance number 542, rezoning property from RA Agricultural Residence District to I-1 Light Industrial District at 1160 Fortune Avenue. Our committee had discussion on this, and I move to consider the first reading of this ordinance.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 542. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries and first reading of ordinance 542 is given.
Item 5G, consideration to request from Broadway Welding, authorizing a one-year extension on a non-conforming use permit to allow a 35,000 square foot addition to an existing industrial building with a 17-foot side yard setback, a variance from the airport zoning requirement to allow a 110,500 square foot building on a 5.56 acre lot in land use safety zone B of the airport, and a variance to allow paving of 71 parking spaces for 110,500 square foot manufacturing facility at 1090 Legion Road to May 14, 2026. Our committee reviewed this, and we would recommend that the council approve this request. And I think Larry has some additional information he would want to share, just kind of explaining
Okay.
the continued extension
This
of this.
particular variance has been extended for a number of years. It started in 2019, so it's been going on for quite a while. COVID was one of the reasons why it's been delayed, but it's also been delayed because the airport zoning was being done at that time, and it was uncertain as to how that would play out and what kind of hoops they would have to go through to get airport zoning. We have now determined that the Planning Commission will act as the Board of Adjustment for airport zoning, so in the future, this can be handled fairly straightforwardly, and I think that further extensions won't be necessary, that they could come back and request these variances when they're ready to build.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Wendy?
Our committee considered the request, and we would move to approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a request from Broadway Welding for various extensions and variances, et cetera. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
5H, consideration to a resolution approving the final plat of Southwood Shore Estates. Our committee discussed this, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution approving the final plat of Southwood Shores Estates. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item 5A, consideration to a resolution setting a public hearing for the proposed vacation of a portion of the dedicated public road in the plat of Kerfman Beach at 144 and 150 Shorewood Drive. Our committee discussed this yesterday and unanimously agreed to move this forward, and I would so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the final plat of Southwood Shores Estates. Is there discussion?
This is letter I.
Oh, I'm sorry, aye. For Kerfman Beach and for Shorewood Drive, excuse me. Discussion,
I would note there is one change to the resolution, and that is in item 1 regarding the park dedication. It says that $49,584 will be paid prior to the city signing the final. That is actually changed to being paid prior to December 31st of 2025.
okay, is the motion and seconder okay with that change?
Yes.
Okay, further discussion?
And I see this is dedicated public road easement that we're giving up. Are we still keeping utility easements in this, or is there no utilities?
Larry?
I'm sorry. Am I on the wrong?
I think you were
think you're on the wrong
referencing H.
I'm on two different things. I'm sorry.
This is the vacating the portion of the dedicated public road.
This is setting the hearing for that?
Yes.
Yes, what's happening there is, I'm sorry, I thought we were on the other item. What we're doing there is the applicant has requested that we vacate the public road right-of-way that is not being utilized for Shorewood Drive. And then they would dedicate to us the portion of road right-of-way that would include where Shorewood Drive is located. We're waiting to hear back from John Pratt about whether or not what they're proposing is adequate for what we need. If it is, we'll take what they're offering. If it's not, we will amend that. But that will all be taken care of prior to the public hearing.
Yeah,
So-
I've reviewed, we're fine.
We're fine?
So our action right now tonight though is just to set the public hearing.
Just setting the public hearing,
Okay.
that's correct.
Discussion from the council. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Wendy, anything further?
That is the final item for.
Oh, okay,
Your Honor, do we need to go back and fix the resolution for the Garrick properties then? 'Cause
Yes.
the one we
That would-
approved says paid prior to the city signing the final plat.
which item is that, Sean?
That'd be the previous H.
Oh.
Do we need to go back and fix that?
That's probably a good idea that there would, since already voting on this is actually a motion to reconsider. So we need a motion to reconsider.
To reconsider the final plat of the South Shore. Okay.
And that just needs to be made by somebody who voted in favor of it the last time.
I move to reconsider the motion on, what is it, 5H for the approval of the final plat of Southwood Shore Estates.
Second.
To add in.
To add in the language, or replace the language to say paid prior, that the $49,584 in one, bullet 1, sub bullet 3, now say, by, did you say December 31st?
Yes, I did.
Paid by December 31st, 2025.
And I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the motion that Sean made. Discussion on the, further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Does that take care of the thing, Charlie? Okay.
We're good.
Okay, we're gonna move to the Public Works Committee, Chairman Zeman.
Okay, the next item here we're gonna have is, item 6B, discussion regarding, bike lanes on South Shore Drive. I'm gonna ask John Pratt to give us a little update on this and we'll go forward from there then. John?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I think there was just a sort of a renewed interest on examining the options relative to making a portion of South Shore Drive a dedicated bike lane. As it sits right now, we've got two 12-foot traffic lanes with 10-foot shoulders on either side of those. And we've examined this a number of different times over the course of history. There was a memo in your packet that I think is maybe a couple of years old now, but for the most part, still relevant. And some of that memo talked about options for bike lanes and things like that. I think most recently, the thought process was, well, can we just eliminate parking on one side of the road or the other and designate that as a bi-directional bike lane? And the reality of that is no, we can't do it just in that simple of a form, meaning get rid of parking and let bikes go both ways on one shoulder. It's in fact against state law to ride against traffic on a bike, on a roadway that's got no division or separation from traffic. So the only way we'd be able to do that is to actually provide some form of a vertical barrier and some other clear zones. You know, we would have to literally put up, you know, jersey barriers or curb or delineator tubes and things like that in order to accomplish all that. So it's not overly practical to just do it in that sense, and we just need to be careful that whatever we do on South Shore Drive needs to be in accordance with different state regulations so that we don't jeopardize the state aid status of that road. So we'll take any questions that anybody might have.
Okay, any questions for John? Ron, is there any action that we would take on
Yes,
this?
after having much discussion on this, we've decided to leave South Shore Drive as it currently is without any parking lanes. And I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to not make any changes at this time on South Shore Drive regarding a bike lane. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item C is discussion of utility extension on 270th Avenue. And you all have we're given a little addendum here, resolution number 20250513, and I'm going to call on John Pratt to give us an update on that also.
Mayor, Council, a little bit of background here before we get to the action, but a number of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we redid a portion of 270th Avenue, installed sewer and water. This was done with the last phase of the Lake Forest subdivision and part of the South Shore Park development. And when we installed that sewer and water, we also reconstructed that roadway. We effectively stopped that work at the southern limits of the city limit, or south portion of the park at the time. If you're familiar with the area, there's about 4 houses on the east side of 270th Avenue that are in the city limits, but they're currently on well and septic. And at the time, those properties were not interested in receiving sewer and water, so we effectively stopped the project. At that point, we were going to then just do a mill and overlay on the remaining portion of the roadway that was within the city limits. Subsequent to that, the agricultural property across the road sold, and it became apparent that that was going to be developed. So we sort of called off everything in terms of any improvements until we could figure out what's going on there. Fast forward here a little bit to where we're at now, we've got a number of factors that are perhaps suggesting we should finish this project off with sewer and water extension further south on 270th Avenue. And the things that are driving that is, first off, we have approved the construction of potentially some apartments on the property on the west side of the road. The property south of Lake Forest has been purchased and has now been annexed into the city, and there's at least plans and discussions for development of that property, which would require us to extend infrastructure down that roadway. And then lastly, there was a property owner of one of those 4 houses that has a failing septic system, I think a drain field specifically, and is in need of doing something out there with that. So of course, from our standpoint, we would really prefer they didn't put a new drain field and septic system in, only to have us come by a year or 2 later with new sewer and water. So that's sort of the whole background, and I think there's a resolution for the council to consider authorizing a preliminary engineering report, which would be the first step in all of this process, so we could go look at what is the cost and what's this project look like, and depending on the outcome of that, potentially try to move a project forward rather quickly this year to get that infrastructure project completed.
Thank you, John.
Kelsey?
Ron?
Okay, the committee did review this project, and all of this is inside the city limits. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, everything's inside
Everything's
the
in
city limits.
right. So in the matter of authorizing the preliminary engineering report for the 275th Avenue South project, I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize a preliminary engineering report for utility extension on 270th Avenue. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item D. This is a project where the VFW has offered to donate to the city the vacant lot that is right behind their building. But after reviewing that building and looking at it for the location, the committee looked at this and we've decided to deny their donation because we really don't need a parking lot there. So the recommendation from the committee is to deny the donation from the VFW for this vacant lot, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to decline the donation of a parking lot from the VFW. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item E there, consideration to a second reading to adopt an ordinance of 539 amending the city code 502 for dogs and cats and 503 for animals. This is a clarification of the rules and amending the code. Kelsey, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
That about covers it.
Okay, the committee review this and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance 539. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Second reading is given. Ordinance 539 is adopted.
Okay, the next item is 5G. This is to give consideration to accepting quotes for the Rotary Soccer Field irrigation well and to award the contract. I'm going to call on Sean. Is Sean King here tonight? There he is right there.
Mayor and council, yes, I received 4 bids to put in irrigation or a well to hook up our current irrigation system that we are currently using treated water for. So this would replace that treated water, which is many, many gallons. And I recommend Clint's Well Service being the lowest bid.
Okay, the motion has been to give this project to Cleanse Well Service of $71,605. The committee reviewed this, and I so move that we move ahead with it.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to award the low bid on the Rotary Soccer Field irrigation well. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is H, is consideration to approving a cooperative agreement with the Minnesota DNR for the fishing pier on the east side of the Holiday Inn. We did receive a grant from them for $75,000 for this project, and what that would be a fishing pier and also an area to launch kayaks. The committee reviewed this, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the cooperative agreement with MnDOT for the fishing pier. Do we have to accept the grant, or has that already been accepted?
Move that we'd accept the grant.
Right? That's what the
So
motion
that's
is.
part of the motion, right?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of the we had a second, right? I'm
We have a
losing it.
second here.
I'm losing it.
Wendy.
Okay.
Yep.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye. Motion is made.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
good. Yep.
Okay.
So we're on
So the
K.
next item is item H here then, or excuse me, item K. It's the consideration to approving the Snoppy Park fee agreement for this year, and I'm going to talk to Kelsey Clem, have him give you an update on that.
Mayor and council, the existing 3-year agreement with the DLCCC that provides them basically scheduling rights over Snappy Park and also use of the concession is expiring. So the new 3-year agreement includes just a $100 increase per year as part of the agreement.
the committee review this, and I so move that we approve this.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, then, okay?
I lost my place. There's so many items on here.
Item, very last one there.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Snappy Park fee agreement.
Item K, yes.
Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, next item is M. Item M is consideration of resolution accepting bids for the Southwood Shores Estate Street and Utility Improvement Project and awarding the contract to R.L. Larson Excavating. This is quite a large project, and I'm going to call on our city engineer to give us an update on that.
Mayor and council, we received bids, I think this one was last Thursday, for the first phase of the Southwood Shores subdivision project. Again, this is a 24-lot subdivision on the south side of South Shore Drive. So 5 bids received, which was fantastic. Low bid was submitted from R.L. Larson of St. Cloud in the amount of $1,071,618 and some change. And we are recommending approval of that bid, or word of that bid.
Okay, so at this time, I'll give consideration resolution accepting the bids for the Southwood Shore Estate Street and Utility Improvements and awarding the contractor L. Larson Excavating from St. Cloud, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution accepting the bid on the Southwood Shores Estate Street and Utility Improvement Project. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Next item is N, consideration of resolution accepting bids for the Forest Street and Utility Improvement Project and awarding contract bids to R.L. Larson Excavating. And once again, I'll call on John Pratt.
Yeah, Mayor and council, pretty much the same story here. We took bids last Tuesday. 5 bids received, and again, the low bid for that project was also submitted from R.L. Larson of St. Cloud in the amount of a little over $1.2 million. We're recommending approval.
Okay, so the committee reviewed this also, and we give consideration and resolution accepting these bids for the Forest Street and Utility Improvement Project contract for R.L. Larson. I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the bids for the Forest Street and Utility Improvement Project. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, the next item is item O, consideration resolution ordering preparation of the assessment roll for the Forest Street and Utility Improvement Project and setting a public hearing on the proposed assessment costs for the Forest Street and Street and Utility Improvement Project. And I so move, but before that, I'm gonna call on John Pratt to give us an update on that one.
Yeah, Mayor and council, not a whole lot to add. This is just the routine. We've got the bids in hand now, so we've been able to firm up our costs and the subsequent special assessments. So we'll be drafting those. The good news is, in the way of a bit of a sneak peek here, I don't have the right thing open here. 1 second. The bids came in pretty significantly below estimate, somewhere around a little over 20% below the project estimate, which was great, which in turn, drove the cost of the special assessments down and the city share of the project down. So everything looks very favorably there. But we'll have that hearing at the June council meeting.
Okay, Ron.
And as I said, the committee recommends, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to order the preparation of the assessment roll and to set the public hearing for those assessments for our June meeting. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Before I go to John Pratt's, monthly engineering report, I want us to go down to item U. We had pulled this, and I'm gonna call on Sean King because we've got a project that wants to come, but it's gonna interfere with our water carnival. So we may have to work something out there to get a different date, Sean.
Yes, Mayor and Council, if you look in your packet, Exhibit 6U, that's for a special event application for Kicks Band of Fargo Moorhead. They'd like to use a band shell on the 18th of July. And also, if y'all saw the handout I gave you for the Water Carnival that was approved last month, they do have a teen bash at 5 PM and then a pre-bash party with Troubadour at 9:30 PM on the beach. So they're right next door to each other. So I think that'll be conflicting events going on.
Could you get a hold of those folks and see if there's a better time for them after the Water Carnival?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go up to item P then, and we're gonna call on John Pratt to give us the monthly engineer report.
Yep, Mayor and Council, we've talked about a number of the items on my report this evening, so I'm not going to hit on everything. I think the first thing to maybe touch on would just be progress on the water tower project. The contractor is there working on the central pedestal and getting that concrete poured. That whole process is going to speed up pretty exponentially here over the next few weeks, so you're going to start to see the center column of the new tower kind of rise above the tree lines here over, again, probably in the next couple of weeks. They'll have that pretty well wrapped up. Heartland State Trail, haven't said much about that lately. The contractor, we have a pre-con scheduled, and Haug is planning to start work on that project. And again, that's the vacant property just to the east of Casey's and west of Country Inn and Suites there along Highway 10. So it'll include a small parking lot and some trailhead amenities. That work should start here sometime probably towards the end of May. No real update on Westlake Drive Phase 3, the beach. We're sort of in the process of refining designs and things like that and getting that information back to the committee. I think we've got a meeting next week on that. And after that meeting, I think I'll probably have a little bit more to update the council on. Contractor is going to start work on some of the DMRA legacy grant projects up at DMRA. I think the first thing is going to be some work on the parking lot, then they'll be moving into some trail work. No update on Sherwood Drive, other than we'll be bringing those bids to council here in June. That is all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, John.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and accept our monthly engineering report from John Pratt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the city engineer's monthly project status report. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Does that complete the agenda for the Public Works?
That'll be all, Your Honor.
Okey-doke.
Mayor,
Didn't we have BB?
yeah, it's two things. Do you want to take a motion
we
on?
did.
AB.
There's one we have to add. Carrie, what is it again? Item BB.
Oh, we have, that wasn't on mine.
Mayor, can I just, two things?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
excuse me, okay.
Do you want to take any action on you with that special event permit, either postponing it or denying it?
What do you recommend we should do?
You can postpone it, or we haven't talked to the person, but
I'd make a motion that we postponed it until Sean King gets hold of them.
table.
Okay,
Table it, okay?
motion to table, is there a second? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And then, Mayor, correct, whether you want to do it underneath licenses or if you want to do it under Public Works, but there was an addition of one excavator license for classic concrete that was handed out, so
Okay, I thought we would do it under addition, but it's addition under 11D. It's for a license for under excavation for the classic concrete company. I so move that we approve it.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve an excavation license for Classic Concrete Contractors. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, so with that, we are down to the Finance Committee. Chairman Boki.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 7A is a discussion regarding leasing the Public Works warehouse. Currently, we are on a month-to-month lease with a business here in town. The committee's wishes was to go out to RFP, and city staff is going to be working to bring that up next month. So more to come on that. 7B, consideration of the request from Becker County for trail study funding. This was discussed at Finance Committee, and we recommend a $1,500 contribution to keep this trail study moving. This would be a trail from Dunton Locks to Shoreham area, correct?
Shoreham, Bucks Mills area, yeah.
So, this was just discussed at Finance Committee, and I so move.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to contribute $1,500 to the Becker County for the trail study funding. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 7C, consideration to authorizing staff to work with JLG Architects to draft a contract for the Pavilion Architect Services. This past Friday, the Finance Committee met with 6 architects. We've come to the realization that JLG rose to the top and would move this forward to the staff to work with JLG Architects to get a contract going, and I so moved.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize our city staff to engage in a contract with JLG Architects for the Pavilion City Park Improvement Project. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 7D, consideration to supporting the preservation of federal tax exemption on municipal bonds. Way over my pay grade. Mr. Clem, please help me out here.
Mayor and council, in your packet is a letter that was drafted by the League of Minnesota Cities. They have asked cities within the 7th Congressional District to consider adopting the resolution and sending it to our federal representative. Basically, there is discussion about the possibility of eliminating our tax exempt status for any bonds issued as a municipality. And this would really go towards really any type of local government issued bonds. So it'd be the same for school districts, counties. And basically, as that is tax exempt, we get more favorable interest rates. So if that tax exemption goes away, we're going to pay more for our borrowing. So we're seeking approval from the city council to submit that letter to Representative Fischbach.
Thank you, Kelsey. This was discussed at Finance and with a unanimous approval to move this forward, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize a letter to urge supporting the preservation of the federal tax exemption on municipal bonds. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
That's all from Finance.
All right, Matt, thank you. Chairman Dahlman, anything on public safety?
I'm good, Your Honor.
Okey-doke. How about Chairman Stearns, anything from liquor
Mr. Mayor,
gambling?
we did add item
Item
9G.
G, yeah.
There was a special event liquor application that was received after the agenda was prepared. So Silver Moon Lounge and Steakhouse would like to obtain a special event liquor license for a wedding scheduled for June 7th of 2025 from 4 p.m. with a 1 a.m. Conclusion. Liquor and Gambling Control Committee discussed, and I so move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the special event liquor application for Silver Moon Lounge and Steakhouse for a wedding at the Pavilion. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. And also, we'll move to the Public Utilities Commission, and I'm gonna call on Alderman Stearns.
I'll keep going. How about that? So I have item 10A, consideration to a resolution approving and authorizing conveyance of real property. Back in March, the council approved the sale of a small sliver of land that is a landowner or homeowner kind of assumed it was their property. They're at the point of trying to sell that property, and so city council approved the sale. We do need a resolution, though, recording that to allow for the city to transfer the property. So Public Utilities Commission discussed it. I recommend approval. I so move.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving and authorizing the conveyance of some real property. That's near the new water tower, correct? Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
So next item is item 10B, and I am going to turn this one over. This is a new power generation for a generator to be installed, what's it called? Well, I'm going to turn it over to Vernell at this point. How about that?
Mayor and council, yeah, on March 11th, we took an open bids for new generation for Little Electric Utility in Detroit Lakes for DLPU. The bids consisted of two components. The first one was two smaller units. They came in at a price of $18,880,490, and the second component of the bid was for one larger unit of 13.7 megawatts for $15,303,645. It became apparent there that we wanted to go with a single unit because of the cost differential between two smaller units and the larger one. So we started, DGR engineering firm and myself started negotiating with Solar Turbines. We walked about $1.8 million off of that original bid price, threw some options back in, and settled on a price of $13,624,601. And that's what the recommendation is, and that is contingent upon legal review of the actual contract once received and reviewed and finalized with Solar. This contract does not include the construction of the facility. This is just for the generation facility itself. It does not include the Black Start generator, which will be an additional option, and it does not include the balance of the work remaining at the substation itself. So this request is for the $13,624,601 for the 13.7 megawatt generation unit.
So Vernell, can I ask you, what's the reason we need to do this?
Biggest reason is our existing jet turbine is almost as old as I am. It's aged out, and there's a definite shortage of capacity within the MISO North footprint, which we sit in. So Missouri River is asking and working with their member communities to put in local generation. And part of what makes this nice is Missouri River will contribute an upfront payment to this project and a monthly capacity payment for the life of the unit. So this is a very good deal for us to renew our local generation that we've had in this community since the inception of the utility. And it just makes it affordable and adds reliability and a cash flow to the utility.
And then we'll decommission the old turbine
That is to be
downtown.
determined yet. We're gonna have to take a look at what those capacity requirements are.
Okay, all right. Okay, Mike?
So Public Utilities heard this presentation this morning from DGR Engineering, and we discussed it in great detail. So we have consideration to accepting bids for the new generation and awarding the contract, and I so move.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the bid and award the contract for the new generation station. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And Mike, I think Vernell has an additional item.
Yeah, we also have item 10C. I guess we'd like to toot the Public Utility Commission, or Public Utilities horn a little bit, and the General Manager Vernell Roberts would like to say a few things.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Mayor and council, we got some pretty good recognition from the American Public Power Association over the last few months. The first one was our recognition of a Diamond Award for our RP3 program, and that stands for Reliable Public Power Provider. And what that does, that benchmarks us against the 2,000 other public power utilities in the country against reliability, safety, workforce development, system improvements, and system innovation. We're one of 6 utilities in Minnesota that have achieved that Diamond designation, and public utilities can be very, very proud of doing that. We've also received the Diamond Award for Excellence in Reliability, and that's based on our outage rate or lack of outages, if you will, for the utility. That's hard to achieve. That's an excellent kudos for the work that the line crew does, maintaining the reliability of the system. The Diamond Award is the highest award we could achieve. And we've also received the Diamond Award for Safety in Group D, which is work hours between 60,000 and 110,000 work hours in a year. We had 0 lost time accidents in 2024. Again, Diamond is the highest we can achieve, and we've achieved that for several years in a row. So kudos to our utility employees for no lost time accidents for several years in a row. Knock on wood, we can keep that one going, because that's another one that's hard to keep doing. And then I think I sent you one from Public Power Magazine a while back. There was an article in there that Madeline Suki, G.L. Tucker, and I participated in. We got some pretty good kudos and recognition for Detroit Lake's efforts of advocating for public power within Washington DC. You know, we go to Washington DC a couple times a year. They recognize Detroit Lake's efforts for that and what we do on advocating for public power in Washington DC. And one of the things we talked about when we were there is exactly what Kelsey was just talking about with tax exempt financing. When we're looking at issuing debt for new generation, tax exempt financing is a big deal for us. So we've been on it. And then there's one last thing, and I want to give a shout out to our electric supervisor, Andy DeBleek. Andy participated in a project called Light Up Navajo, which is in the Four Corners area of the United States on the Navajo Nation. Andy went down there with 7 other linemen from Minnesota to work on Light Up Navajo 6. And it's a project where utilities volunteer employees to go down there and kind of do a mutual aid effort or a training effort to put electricity into homes on the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation covers 27,000 square miles and it's the size of West Virginia. When they started that project, there were 10,400 homes on the Navajo Nation that do not have electricity. And the project runs from the first week of April, 10,000 people, not 10,000 homes, 10,000 people. The project runs from the 1st of April to the first week of August. We anticipate they'll bring electricity to 400 more people during that time, and there will still be 10,000 people left without electricity until this is done again next year. The overall cost just for the material to provide electricity to the remaining people on Navajo Nation is $9 billion. That's a huge footprint and a huge cost. One of the projects that Andy worked on was the first ones they did. They met an elderly lady that was in her late 80s, early 90s, and she'd never had electricity in her home before. And when they fired that up, she got a little teary, and so did everybody else. Andy talked about how moving this was for everybody that worked on that project to help bring power to the people in the Navajo Nation. I'm proud of them, and we can all be proud of our people to do that. The commission is supportive. If we can get other people to do it again next year, I think we're going to try doing it again next year. Mr. Stearns can talk about that. When we first brought this up, it's an emotional deal, and it's really cool to be part of it. We're proud to be part of it.
All right, thanks, Fernell. And so on behalf of the council, let your employees and Andy know how much we appreciate them.
We will do that. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a few city administration items, and I believe Alderman Boki is going to take 11A, B, and C, correct, Matt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
11A, consideration of the first reading of ordinance 540, creating city code section 216 of civil enforcement. Mr. Clem or Mr. Ramstead?
This is a proposed ordinance that would assist the city attorney's office and city staff in enforcement of basically our codes. What it effectively does is it specifically authorizes us to bring civil action to seek certain relief. It also would authorize us to require, as a condition of permit applications, permits and licenses, that the applicant agree that in the event they were to violate that permit and a civil action was necessary to enforce it, they would be responsible for the attorney's fees, costs, and disbursements associated with doing that. Essentially, that's a civil enforcement mechanism that will hopefully mean that we don't have to do that thing. Sort of similar to what you see when you have contracts in Minnesota where they're, like, for instance, promissory notes and those type of things always authorize that the undefault, the borrower has to pay costs and disbursements. That's because Minnesota law prohibits that unless it's part of an agreement. And so we're asking that the council give first reading to this ordinance tonight and second reading in the future. It will assist with ordinance enforcement.
This was discussed at the Finance Committee with unanimous approval, and I so move.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading of ordinance 540. Discussion?
I have one question.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Absent enacting this ordinance, how do we manage violations of the code at this time, of the civil nature? Does
It depends. This clarifies some of, it gives specific authority to what we otherwise can already do. In other words, it does specifically authorize us to seek an injunction. Well, the law probably allows us to do that, but we don't have a specific directive from the council to do that. It authorizes us to seek specific performance of a permit that we don't, we may have that authority, but we don't have a specific directive from the council. So it's in clarifying that type of language and the type of civil enforcement that we can do. I mean, most of our ordinance is enforceable by criminal prosecution, and we do utilize criminal prosecution in a lot of instances. But one thought with this is that to the extent that we can avoid criminal prosecution, there are some types of ordinances where, you don't really want to charge somebody with a misdemeanor, but you might be able to get them to comply with civil enforcement. And so that's the thought.
Okay. Further questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries and first reading of ordinance 540 is given.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 11B, consideration of the first reading of ordinance 543, amending City Code Section 204.14, which is administrative appeal. Kelsey?
Mayor and council, so we have the administrative appeal process in our city code. This change just removes the word employee from those who can be basically aggrieve that decision. Employees will still have their grievance options as spelled out by the personnel policy or in their collective bargaining agreements. It just removes it from the administrative code.
Okay, Matt?
That in discussion at Finance Committee, this was unanimously approved, and I so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 543. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 11C, consideration of approving a resolution authorizing the execution of grant agreement with MnDOT for a broom attachment at the airport. Currently, we do not have a broom option out there, and that's a big deal, so we need a broom out there. This is a $28,000 piece of equipment where the airport share would be $11,000. Discussed at Finance Committee, we did agree they need a broom, so we are gonna move this forward.
Okay, is there a second?
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize the execution of a grant agreement for a new broom for the airport. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Is there any other items that any of the city staff needs to bring
I have a
before the
quick
council?
question. Did we actually remove 11D from the consent agenda in entirety? Or did we? So I think we need to take action on
no, we
11D.
went ahead and we moved it to be on, and we just redid that on us.
Well, we only approved the one license, though. We didn't approve the rest
The
of
other
them
was on,
technically.
the rest was on consent agenda.
I thought we removed the whole thing from the consent.
No,
agenda.
just that one, just that. Yeah.
So, Carrie's telling me that we
You know,
removed the whole thing.
you know what? I think we removed 11D, Ron, so I think we need to
Did
come
that?
back
Okay, all right.
and approve all the other licenses.
So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve 11D as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve item 11D. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Sean. Is there any other items that city staff has to bring before the council this evening? Hearing none. At this time, I would like to recommend the appointment of Dan Josephson to our planning commission, and he will be replacing Justin Koenig for the balance of the term, which expires December 31st, 2026, and that would be my recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Dan Josephson to the planning commission. Discussion?
I have discussion. I've received comments from people in Ward 3 about this appointment, and this is what I'm going to say about it here. On November 5th of last year, the voters of Ward 3 voted Dan Josephson out of office because the voters did not share or agree with Dan Josephson on his ideas for Ward 3. The voters of Ward 3 do not approve the residential business zoning that Dan Josephson approves of and supports. If the mayor and city council allow Mr. Josephson to be on the planning commission, it tells the citizens, voters of Ward 3 that their vote doesn't matter or count. This isn't, to me, this is not good government. Do you think that by putting Dan Josephson on a planning commission, that his ideas are going to change as far as dealing with zoning for the area, not only the city, but also Ward 3? This is not what Ward 3 voters wanted. The voters of Ward 3 have lost confidence in Mr. Josephson and his ideas. They therefore voted him out. And if the council approves this move to him on the planning commission, the voters will lose confidence also in the city council, because it'll allow him to have his approval come back on the planning commission. As I said before, this is not good government. We have many positive things going on in Detroit Lakes right now with Westlake Drive, a new pavilion, new water park, beachfront, ballpark, etc. as things move on. Let's find someone else to replace us on the planning center besides Dan Josephson.
Well, I'm not gonna.
Like I said, I'm representing the people of Ward 3 that called me on this.
So I'm not gonna argue with you, Ron, but I'll give you my reasons for asking for approval of Dan on the planning commission. I think he'll be an excellent addition. Number one, he's got extensive experience from his time on the city council. Secondly, any recommendation from the planning commission still needs to be approved by the city council. And thirdly, he'll be reliable, and we've had a little bit of trouble with people being reliable on some of our advisory boards. So I highly recommend to the council to approve Dan. And with that, did we have a motion? Yeah, and a second? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries. I don't have an appointment on the Arts and Culture Commission. I erroneously recommended someone who couldn't serve on there because of her residency, so I'll work on that as well for next month. A couple announcements. The Coalition of Greater Minnesota City Summer Conference is July 23rd to the 25th in Bemidji. You can let Carrie know if you'd like to attend. There'll be a special joint governance meeting held this Thursday at 7 a.m. in the City Hall Community Room. The balance of the 2025 joint governance meeting dates are listed, and the balance of the 2025 city council meetings are also listed on the agenda. Which brings us to the end, except if there's any of the council members. Jay, anything further tonight?
Pardon me?
Anything further for the?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Sean?
Absolutely not.
Mike?
Nothing.
Matt?
One quick thing just to tell everybody about, at noon today, the sophomore class for the engineering school at the high school here created this air piston, which they did this, it kind of blew my mind with CNC machine. It runs about 660 revolutions per minute, which I don't even know how you start making this, but I never had that option in high school. Thought it was dang cool. If you guys get the option, stop by the high school to check it out. This has a CNC City logo on the top as well. So Kelsey or Mayor, I'll hand that over to you.
Well, when I was in high school, we had shop and we made wooden salt and pepper shakers. Instead of my technology, but
Pretty close.
yeah. Well, this will look good on the mayor's desk, won't it? Ron, anything further?
Yes, I just want to comment on our joint government meeting that the mayor mentioned here on Thursday at 7 o'clock in the morning here. The keynote speaker is going to be Jeff Siegler. He's going to be the main speaker at the chamber annual meeting this year. But we put in some extra money. He's a heck of a speaker, and I hope that we have a good turnout for him. And we come and everybody can see him at 7 o'clock on Thursday morning.
Okay, thank you. Wendy?
I just want to say a special thank you to Public Utilities for sharing that information tonight. I think we live in a community where we're really fortunate to have all of the amenities and you know, our involvement as a council, making sure those things happen. And then to hear about abject poverty and people don't have electricity today. I think people don't recognize that. So I really appreciate you sharing. Plus, thank you for all the good work that you do and providing service.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Aaron, anything further?
Just a little disappointed in the city council on this whole flag issue. I thought we had a good compromise. It's kind of sad that we can't compromise as a city council. Life's full of disappointments. I'll just move on. That's all I have.
All right, Craig, anything further?
Just really excited for the baseball park, just getting going
Yeah.
on that. I've been bugging Terry Meyer for a long time. Terry Iyer, just when is this going to take place? And it's exciting to see, the city support it and get going on it, so.
Yeah, and also we're gonna cut the ribbon on the expansion of the gymnastics on Thursday. So
Exactly.
is that at noon, you know?
Noon, yeah.
12 noon, you're all invited, so,
It's gonna be a beautiful day.
yeah. Rain. The business of this council has come to a conclusion. The meeting's adjourned.